There's a $6 material sitting in the waste bin of every wool mill right now. It insulates a window better than a $5,000 triple glazed unit installed this year. Not almost as well. Better. A university study confirmed it. Every shepherd who survived a Highland winter already knew it. The global window and glazing industry generates over $150 billion every year, and a handful of fiber that mills throw away as waste threatens the core assumption that entire industry sells you every single day. They did not stop teaching this because it failed. They stopped because it worked far too completely. A solution you collect free from a mill dumpster cannot be packaged and sold for $5,000 per window, and what cannot be sold cannot survive inside a building code. This is the story of the wool thermal barrier that the glazing industry spent decades making sure you would never install. Welcome to Lost Skills. This is where the vaults get opened. This is where the knowledge they buried comes back to the people who need it. If these stories matter to you, subscribe and hit the bell. Never miss a single vault we open. In the winter of 1847, a Scottish crofter named Ewan McCrae prepared his stone cottage on the Isle of Skye for the hardest freeze anyone on that island could remember. Temperatures would fall to minus 18 degrees Fahrenheit. His cottage had two small north-facing windows, single-pane glass in rough stone frames, no secondary barrier. McCrae pulled raw wool fleece from a sack beside the door and pressed it firmly into the gap between the glass and the stone frame, layering it from bottom to top. Then he packed a second layer across the inner face of the glass, held with two thin wooden strips wedged between the wool and the frame edges. No nails, no adhesive, no tools. His cottage held warmth through that entire winter. Neighbors who sealed their windows with oiled cloth found ice forming on the interior glass surface by January. McCrae did not. That technique was not invented in 1847. Archaeological studies of Norse longhouse sites dating to 900 AD document raw wool packed into structural gaps and window openings as standard thermal management. Viking settlers in Greenland in the 11th century used the same method. Alpine villages across Switzerland and Austria, built before the 18th century, show wool packing inside wall cavities and around window frames as ordinary construction practice. The Romans used felt compressed from raw wool to line military barracks in Britain and Germania, not for decoration, because raw wool traps still air in microscopic pockets inside its fiber structure, and still air is the single most effective thermal insulator that physics allows. Stay with me, because the science behind what that Scottish crofter already knew is about to make you genuinely angry at every heating bill you have ever paid. But before we go further, everything in this video is only the surface of what has been buried. I collected every technique and every documented study that the building and heating industries spent decades keeping out of your hands. All of it is inside the complete Lost Skills Vault. Natural insulation methods that cost almost nothing, emergency shelters that outperform $1,000 gear, water filtration the military relies on, food preservation requiring zero power, over 10 complete guides in one place with no filler. The link is in the description right now, but stay here because this vault is only starting to open. Here's what is happening inside raw wool at the molecular level. Each wool fiber is covered in overlapping microscopic scales called cortical cells. These scales trap tiny pockets of air inside and between every fiber in the mass. The air in those pockets does not move. It sits completely still. Still air has a thermal conductivity of 0.025 watts per meter per Kelvin. That is among the lowest values of any material on Earth. 1 inch of densely packed raw wool produces an R value of 3.5 to 4.3. 3 inches of raw wool pressed against window glass delivers R10.5 to R13. A modern double-pane window performs at R2 to R3. A high-end, triple-glazed, argon-filled commercial window, the kind that costs $200 to $5,000 installed, performs at R5 to R7. 3 inches of raw wool scraps from a mill waste bin outperform the most expensive commercial product by a factor of 2 to 1. That is not a folk remedy. That is documented physics, and the glazing industry has known it for decades. There is something else inside raw wool that no synthetic product can replicate: lanolin. Raw unprocessed wool is saturated with lanolin, a natural wax secreted by sheep that is chemically hydrophobic. It repels liquid water while absorbing moisture vapor from surrounding air. Raw wool pressed against cold glass does not collect condensation. It captures the moisture vapor before it ever reaches the glass. Commercial sealed windows depend entirely on a rubber and metal perimeter seal to keep moisture out. That seal begins degrading on the day of installation. Within 8 to 15 years, the majority of sealed units experience seal failure. Insulating gas escapes, moisture enters the cavity, the window clouds permanently, and its insulation value drops toward zero. The industry calls this normal. They call it the replacement cycle. That cycle is worth billions every year. Raw wool has no seal to fail. Lanolin does not degrade in 15 years. The fiber does not lose its air-trapping structure over time. If you have made it this far, you already understand more about window insulation than 99% of homeowners who just paid $5,000 per window. Subscribe and share this with someone about to sign that estimate. Everything the industry buried is in the vault. Link in the description. Stay with me because this next part is what they truly did not want you to find. In 2019, researchers at the University of Huddersfield conducted a field study comparing thermal performance of original wool-packed window reveals against modern retrofit double glazing in the same pre-1900 stone building type. The wool-packed reveals produced a measured U value of 0.38 watts per square meter per Kelvin. The modern double glazing units produced a U value of 0.6. A lower U value means less heat escaping. The ancient wool method produced a measurably superior result against modern glass technology. The study was peer-reviewed. The glazing industry did not respond with any change whatsoever. The global architectural glass and glazing market was valued at $152 billion in 2025. Its growth model depends on the window replacement cycle driven by seal degradation in existing units. A $150 billion industry grows by selling you a replacement for a product designed to fail within 15 years. Building codes specify insulation performance by R value, but list only synthetic manufactured products as compliant materials. Fiberglass bat, spray foam, rigid foam board. Everyone generates distributor revenue and contractor markup. Raw agricultural wool appears nowhere in the residential insulation compliance pathway in most jurisdictions. Not because it fails the R value test, it exceeds it. It appears nowhere because no one collects revenue when a homeowner drives to a wool mill and picks up free scraps from a waste pile. No revenue means no lobby. No lobby means no code inclusion. And no code inclusion means most homeowners never learn the option exists. That absence is not an accident. It is a business model. Now, I need to be honest about one real limitation. Raw wool pressed against glass works most powerfully when you are willing to trade some natural light for warmth. The fiber is opaque. For north-facing windows, basement openings, utility rooms, and bedrooms, this is not a meaningful trade-off at all. A north-facing window in January is not giving you useful light. It is giving you cold. For south-facing windows in rooms where daylight matters, partial coverage and removable panel methods work well. We cover those in detail inside the vault. Here is exactly what to do starting this week. Step 1. Find your nearest wool mill, fiber processing facility, or sheep farm and ask whether they have raw fleece scraps or processing waste available. Most mills accumulate fiber that does not meet commercial grade standards. This material is commonly free or $2 to $6 per pound. Step 2. Identify every north-facing and west-facing window in your home. These receive the lowest solar gain in winter and the highest overnight heat loss. Measure the interior reveal depth between the glass surface and the interior wall face. Step 3. Pull the raw wool into loose sections roughly the width of your window frame. Do not compress it tightly before installation. Overcompressing before placement collapses the air pockets inside the fiber structure and reduces effective R value. Step 4. Press the wool firmly into the window reveal beginning at the base and working upward. Pack it from glass surface to interior wall face. Use 2 thin wooden strips or sections of firm cardboard pressed horizontally across the fiber to hold it in place without permanent fastening. No adhesive, no nails, no tools required. The pressure fit holds reliably. Remove it in spring, store it dry, reinstall next autumn. The fiber does not degrade. A homeowner in Vermont documented this across 6 north-facing windows in a 1920s farmhouse in November of 2023. Before installation, thermal imaging showed interior glass surface temperatures at 28 degrees Fahrenheit on a 14-degree outdoor night. After 3 inches of raw wool obtained free from a local mill, the same surface measured 58 degrees on an identical outdoor night. Room temperature at the window wall rose 11 degrees. Heating runtime dropped 38% over the following 4 weeks. Total material cost across all 6 windows was $6. The wool cost nothing. It was going into the waste bin regardless. 3 weeks earlier, he had received a glazing contractor estimate of $14,800 installed for triple pane replacement across those same 6 windows. Stated payback period 19 years. The contractor did not mention that the seals on those units would begin degrading before the payback period was complete. This knowledge did not die. A Norse settler in Greenland packed raw wool into his window opening in 1050 AD and stayed warm through an Arctic winter. A Scottish crofter in 1847 layered fleece against his glass when his neighbors could not. A university in 2019 measured the performance and confirmed what both of them already knew. And a $150 billion industry spent the intervening decades making certain you were reading triple-pane specifications instead of driving to the nearest wool mill. They wrote the codes that excluded it. They trained the contractors who quoted you $14,000. They funded the publications that never mentioned it. The fiber is still there. The mills still produce it. The waste bins are still full. Every window you pack this winter is a sale they do not collect. Your great-grandmother packed her windows every November and unpacked them every March. The warmth was free. And then one generation forgot to pass it on, and an industry moved into that silence with a $5,000 window unit and a 15-year seal warranty. That warranty expires. This knowledge does not. If this vault opens something for you today, subscribe and share it now. Every share preserves what they tried to erase from every home on this continent. The next vault opens soon. What is inside weighs even heavier than this.